know a Doom game is a failure when nobody's really talking about the game itself, its new mechanics, its boss fights, its story.
Harmon, number one, the game just came out, literally. The game hasn't even been out for a week, and what, you expect it to make record-breaking sales in a week? Not every game is going to do that. We definitely know your precious games aren't going to do that, and many reviewers have came out and praised the game for being good.
Or like anything else about it. Instead, they are seething about people like Darkside Phil being extremely bored playing through the game.
I don't even really know who the hell Darkside Phil is, but from what I've heard, he sucks at video games. He can't even sit there and get past certain easy puzzles.
Over the past like 5 years, we've seen like Doom Eternal fans like try and gaslight people into thinking Doom was some like major relevant IP.
Harmon, Doom Eternal has sold over 3 million copies just of the digital sales online. What are you talking about? It hasn't sold well. It's outsold your precious Princess Peach Showtime that you sat there said should have won Game of the Year.
You know, Eternal was like hyped up to be this like absolute masterpiece of a game when in reality, nobody over the age of 20 liked it. You know, anybody who played 2016 knew that was better. You know, Eternal was a really interesting case study in just like...
Number one, it doesn't matter the age of what people like when they sit there and play those games, but I guess something to say the same for you. No one really cares about Nintendo IP because no one really over the age of 20 even played a Nintendo IP. See? 2 can play that game, Harmon.
In seeing just how Zoomers, you know, like immature, underdeveloped, you know, ADHD.
I think he literally just painted himself. I think that is literally who you are from top to bottom. How you just explained the person that would play is literally who you are.
Addicted, porn addicted, just terminally online internet weirdos can just prop up a mediocre video game just because they had a bunch of keys dangled in front of their face.
Okay, I haven't beaten this game, but I just started playing this game, and I'm having a blast. This game is amazing, and this is my first ever Doom game I've ever played. So, Harmon, you have no idea what you're talking about, just as usual.
You know, that's basically what Doom Eternal was. You know, it didn't make sense as a sequel to 2016.
If you're still talking about Doom Eternal, it's not even a sequel, it's a prequel, you damn idiot.
It had really terrible environments, it was repetitive, the enemy variety wasn't great.
You can say the same thing about Breath of the Wild. Look how repetitive it was collecting all those Korok seeds, and you got absolutely nothing for it instead of a golden piece of poop.
The weapons weren't fun to use, the platforming was embarrassing. You know, Doom Eternal is just not a good game.
Okay, so now we're back on Doom Eternal. Harmon, you really need to sit there and just stick to one subject. You're going from Doom the Dark Ages to Doom Eternal. Make up your mind. Which one are we talking about here? Because I'm having a very hard time keeping up with you.
But it was propped up and worshipped because the community desperately needed something to talk about during this season when normal people, when gamers, when like, you know, everyone was playing.
Number one, Harmon, how much weed have you smoked in the last hour before you did this video? Because you do not look like you're right in the head. And number two, are you just that mad? Poor little Harmon baby is so mad that Doom the Dark Ages is taking away the spotlight from the Nintendo Switch. What? So like 2 months before and 2 months after, do you expect people to not drop any games around those times? That is not how that works.
Animal Crossing New Horizon. Like Doom Eternal was never that big of a deal.
More of a bigger deal than half your damn games.
And yet it was propped up and worshipped among certain communities because they had nothing else to play, right?
There are plenty of stuff to play. You have Expedition 33, that just came out. There are plenty of things to play, Harmon. What do you have to play? When was the last time a Nintendo thing came out?
And with the Dark Ages, we're seeing something similar where the numbers are way down, sales are way down, engagement is way down, but like...
How do you know this, okay? I am making this video like a few days after you release yours, and none of the even data has come out. How are you going to sit there and say that you know this, but nobody else in the world knows it?
You know, people like Grums are doing damage control like, well, actually, people are just playing on Game Pass. Hey, genius. That's an indication of how the Game Pass model is a failure.
Game Pass is not a failure. Microsoft has made so much money off of their Game Pass. What are you talking about? Out of curiosity, Harmon, back when you were a kid, did you ever sit there and hear of a thing called Blockbuster? Did you ever rent a game, or did you come from a wealthy family where mommy and daddy bought you whatever game you wanted?
If it's actively impacting sales, that means that Doom the Dark Ages is not successful.
Yeah, that's not how that works. Do you know how many developers have came out and said that Game Pass has helped their games reach newer levels, that they make money on Game Pass? I don't think you understand how the actual Game Pass works. Because with that logic right there, you can sit there and say that none of the Nintendo games that are in the Super Nintendo were successful because all the people that went to Blockbuster and Hollywood Video to rent the damn video game.
It's not pulling in money. You can look at people like the Moon Studios guys who have been very upfront about this. Game Pass does not help the game development studio, right?
Buying it doesn't even work. Do you understand that when we buy the game, it doesn't go directly to the developer? It goes to Xbox. It doesn't go to Bethesda. I don't think you understand that. That development team has already been paid the money by Xbox. All that revenue collected goes directly to Xbox. So no matter what, if you buy the game or if you rent it, or if you use, Game Pass is nothing more than a rental subscription pretty much. So if you rent it, it's not going to the developers. You're an idiot.
Game Pass is bleeding money and is not in any way successful. Using it as a crutch to kind of justify, titles pretend that games like Power World or
Pocket Paris came out and said that Power World has been a huge success because of Game Pass. You have no idea what you're talking about. You're just jealous that you don't have a Game Pass on your platform.
Doom the Dark Ages are doing well is just this massive boat anchor around the industry. We're at the point now where the industry has this get out of jail free card when it comes to games like this underperforming.
The game hasn't even been out for a week. They have not said if it's a failure or a success yet. It's not like you're going to know if it's an automatic success right off the bat, you damn idiot.
Well, people are playing it on Game Pass, but Game Pass is clearly a declining subscription service. Nobody uses it other than YouTubers shilling the product. It's not
No, it's not declining. It's actually been increasing. The only thing declining here is your IQ level.
A more desirable service than actually buying and owning the game. 3 months of Game Pass, it's what? That'd be what, $45?
Yes, about that. But the thing is, even if you buy the physical copy, you don't even own the game. For the PS5 version, the game isn't even on the disc. It's nothing more than a damn disc key card or a key disc, whatever you want to call it.
You can buy a lot of games for cheaper than that. Anything older than a couple of months, you can get you can buy straight up cheaper than that.
Like what? Except for Shovelware's, we know you ain't talking about your damn Nintendo games. Your games from 8 years ago are still over $45. So please tell me what games you're talking about.
Hollow Knight is $15.
Hollow Knight, from what I've seen, is an indie game, and Doom the Dark Ages is a AAA game.
So why exactly would I pay $15 a month on Xbox Game Pass when I could just buy the game on any platform, own it for $15, and then spend 80 hours just trying to beat those gauntlets at the end,
Okay, I have never sat there and played Hollow Knight, but from what everyone says that I need to play Hollow Knight, trust me, it's on my backlog. I will get to it eventually. But that is an indie game. So you're going to sit there and compare, why would anybody buy the Doom the Dark Ages when they can buy that? It's the same thing. Why would you buy Princess Peach Showtime when there are far more superior games to play, Harmon?
There's no benefit to Xbox Game Pass. You can try and gaslight people but there's so much selection though. You're not going to have time to play all those games.
No, you may not have time to play all those games, but for $13 a month, it is well worth it. Or $14 a month. Sorry, I made a mistake. But for $14 a month, it is well worth it. Even if you only play one of those games, it's still cheaper than buying a $60, $70 game brand new every month.
And if you're like me, who have been playing all these games for the past 20 years or so, you own them already, and the service has no...
Harmon, unlike you, I don't have time to replay all these games. I understand that you strictly are only on the Nintendo Switch, and you're starving for actually more innovative games, just generally just more games in general. Most of the games on the Switch you most likely already played from the previous ones because they were nothing more than reports.
You know, that's kind of like my view on Game Pass. Like, what benefit do I get by subscribing to Game Pass?
You get day one titles, you know, like Expedition 33, Avowed, was it South by Midnight, I think. You also get Doom the Dark Ages. You're going to have many more. Oh, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. You get many great first party games. What do you mean? Or not just first party games. You just get great games in general on launch day. So what do you mean? What's the point? That's a huge point. I guarantee you, if Nintendo had that, you would be loving it right now.
You know, like, this clearly was like an experiment, you know, an attempt at like, you know, keeping the Xbox brand relevant after the hardware just goes completely bust.
That's okay. Xbox doesn't need to continue to make hardware. Look at Sega. They used to be very big in the hardware space. Now they only make software. And I would sit there and say they made some amazing games on their software.
Right. Like, we've all known that Xbox has been failing since like the Xbox One was announced. But like this, like the subscription service thing, Game Pass is like one of the biggest hopes in the entire industry, especially considering you have a much more successful version of it on Nintendo consoles.
You guys got no Game Pass. Yeah, you guys got your expansion online BS, and you got some older games, but you don't even have a lot of the good ones. Where are all the Pokemon games at?
With Nintendo Switch Online. But with that, the community is pretending that it's some massive failure and that it's not doing well at all, when in reality, it's way better handled than Xbox Game Pass. Because
oh, and you love to sit there and say other people are coping. That's all you're doing. You're lucky I don't have that damn song like Gara and Dezire does, or I'll be playing that coping song right now. But what are you talking about? You guys could only wish that you had a version of that Game Pass that's just as good as that. The only thing you guys got going is because to play online, you have to buy it. That's the only reason why it's probably doing successful, because you have a few good online games.
Nintendo knows to keep a distinction between modern titles, which they can continue to sell at full price.
Aw, is the sad little Nintendo that mad that he has to pay full price while the people on Xbox get the newer games at launch for a rented price? Oh, that must sting so bad, you big baby. I knew that was the whole reason why you made this video.
Versus like older titles that people don't necessarily want to pay full price for. You know, stuff like, you know, the old NES sports games and like some puzzle games and stuff like that. You know, like these games clearly have an audience, but not necessarily one that would like want to.
Listen, if Nintendo released all their games at launch on their online subscription, it would boost Nintendo so far beyond than what it already is, Harmon. You just have you have to understand you have no idea what you're talking about. I wonder, what was dropped on your head, or did you just eat a bunch of paint chips when you were a kid?
To shell out like $5 on an eShop or whatever, you know? Like, I remember what it was like in the Wii U era, like seeing like Mario, Zelda, and Metroid dominate like Nintendo eShop charts.
That was because that was the only good thing on the Wii U. The Wii U was terrible, so of course their two most successful games on the Wii U would have done something, you idiot.
Like every week, because like that's what the vast majority of people were getting into and playing. Because like,
no, that was really the only thing to play on the Wii U.
These franchises are so iconic and have so many entries, even if like, you know, the most popular entry gets knocked off, you know, another one is just going to take its place.
Yes, when someone knocks off Nintendo, another one will take its place. Don't you worry, Harmy.
Like, again, it was very difficult for like lesser known games to get noticed under that ecosystem. But with Nintendo Switch Online, like, yeah, you can like, you know, you can play Congo's Caper, you can play like, you know, like Final Fight or like whatever, like.
Yes, and on Game Pass, you can play far better ones. Even Sony has a better online subscription service than Nintendo does. You guys got the worst online subscription service. Ubisoft Plus is better. EA is better. You guys literally have the worst online subscription anybody could ask for.
There is Nintendo Switch Online offers this really good versatile service that encompasses a lot of different pieces of hardware while still keeping like retail priced games.
Harmon, why do you care so much about the retail price games? You own a bunch of stocks in Nintendo or something that we don't know about? Because it's not like you're getting anything out of it. Why does it matter to you so much that people will sit there and use a subscription service that's nothing different than renting a game? Were you against like Blockbuster back in the day?
You know, paying a full $80 for like a modern experience, like while still keeping that business model relevant. Like what makes Xbox Game Pass not work is that it is cannibalizing the sales.
Who cares? Microsoft's doing fine, Bethesda's doing fine. They're all making money. What does it matter? Xbox owns Bethesda. So if Xbox is making money, so is Bethesda. Who cares if the sales aren't as high?
Even if people were playing Doom the Dark Ages on Game Pass, they are not.
Yes, they are, Harmon.
Even if that was true, like the reality of the situation is they're not paying full price for it. So,
oh, poor little Harmy, so mad that he can't, or he has to sit there and pay full price while the rest of us don't have to win.
The game is losing money because Game Pass exists. And yet you have people like Grums trying to gaslight you into thinking this is a good thing.
Well, Game Pass is a good thing, but you don't even know if they're losing money. They could be, but I seriously doubt they are.
You know, it's appalling. It really is like something that needs to be called out. I would say this is like...
No, the only thing that needs to be called out is how massive your forehead is compared to your hairline. You really need a pick a struggle already.
One of the worst things about the gaming community right now is just its willingness to just glaze anything that comes out.
Harmon, don't bring up glazing whenever you let Doug Bowser glaze you every morning.
We saw this happen, you know, over the past couple of years with games like Astrobot, with Hi-Fi Rush, with like Black Myth Wukong.
Astrobot and Black Myth Wukong were such a huge success. You don't even know what you're talking about. All right, I'm done with this one. I can't even finish up the last minute. That's how annoyed I'm getting. But that's it for my reaction. Let me know down in the comments if you agree with me or not. Please like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, stay vigilant.